Hello, today I'll be setting up my reading journal for 2025. I decided to go with an Academia Ancient Rome theme. Here is the journal I'll be using. It's a sage green Manner of Sage journal with a pocket in the back and 2 ribbon bookmarks. It has this gold design of a Roman sculpture on the front, which inspired my theme for this journal. I'm starting off with the intro page for my reading journal. I wanted to keep this page pretty simple but still add a design to it, so I'm gluing some craft paper along the bottom. I used this glue to stick it down because it was a larger surface to cover, but I didn't want to ruin my pages, so I'm making sure to spread it out and use glue dots around the edges. Once that's done, I'm using my fine liner to draw a column on the left side of the page. I'm skipping the lines to give it a more organic look, and the top of the column is broken off to match with the ancient Rome theme, and I think the skipped lines add to that as well. Then I'm using my gold jelly roll pen to add gold detailing to the page to match the gold on the front of my journal by drawing cracks on the columns and some stars and dots towards the top of the page. After that, I'm using my spare scrapbook paper to stamp my name and fixing any spots with my fine liner. Next, I'm sticking down a torn out page of an old book with glue dots. I ran out of glue dots right when sticking down this page, so I had to use the other glue for a good part of my journal. And in order to use it sparingly, I used the back of sticker paper to spread the glue out. Lastly, I'm placing a gold floral sticker next to my name. Moving on to the title page for my reading journal. I'm using my craft knife to cut out a little window on this sort of stuck page that some journals have. I was debating between creating a pocket with this side or making it decorative, and I ended up going with this design that I turned into a pocket later on. Then, to add a background to the window, I'm placing a piece of craft paper on the other side of the page and sticking it down, making sure it's completely covering the window. It doesn't have to be a perfect shape because I'll end up sticking these 2 pages together later on. After that, I'm adding gold details and coloring in the dress on this Roman sculpture that I bought as part of a dark academia pack that I'll be sticking down inside the window I created. I'm sticking down some craft paper along the bottom and cutting off the excess. I realized at some point that I forgot to rip the edge of that paper so it wasn't a straight line, but I ended up doing it later. Then I'm adding gold designs of lines, stars, and dots around the window. Next, I'm stamping an open book at the bottom and lifting that side of my journal to add more pressure before adding a gold floral sticker to the corner of that page. On the other page, I'm drawing some laurels to go with the ancient Rome theme and to add detail to the title. After that, I'm writing out 2025 in bigger letters with my fine liner on another piece of scrapbook paper. I drew out 4 boxes to make sure the numbers were the same size and lined up correctly. Once I have the base drawn out, I'm thickening the lines before filling it in completely with my black Tombow. Then I'm sticking a torn book page in the center and also sticking down the 2025 in between the laurels before stamping out reading journal on 2 pieces of craft paper. Next, I'm ripping some of the extra craft paper from around the edges and sticking those pieces on top of the book page. I'm adding details to this base cardstock design by coloring it and adding gold accents. After that, I'm sticking the vase and book stack cardstock design at the bottom corner of the page and adding another gold floral sticker in between them. To finish off this page, I'm coloring in the laurels with green, and I also decided to add green to the book cover of the book stamp on the left page. Moving on to my index page, I'm placing scrapbook paper to go across the bottom and top of both pages, then layering craft paper on top of the scrapbook paper so that it shows under the craft paper. Next, I'm drawing rounded boxes for the index and using the same method of the skipped lines to give it a more minimal look. In the left column, I'll be writing the page contents, and in the right will be the page number. I'm also stamping the word index at the top and adding gold details around the top of the page. And to add more detail in the top right corner of the page, I'm drawing the sun and sun rays. Then I'm sticking a Roman sculpture design in the bottom of the page. And because it has a rose gold outline, I decided to draw over the rose gold with my gold pen. Then I'm writing topic and page in the headers for those columns of the index. This is my first time setting up a reading journal, and I don't know how often I'll use an index, but I wanted to add it just in case. Once that's done, I'm stamping out a quote at the bottom of the page. Then I'm using my fine liner to add a comma to the quote and erasing the entire quote so that the stamping is a little bit more faded and fits with the theme. And I'm adding lines to the index and filling in the header. The next page to set up is my rating system page. My rating system is a modified version of the call pile method, but with only 5 categories that spell out space. So I'm stamping the first letter of each category on craft paper and stamping the rest of each word on scrapbook paper and ripping the extra paper from around the edges. Once I've stuck those down, I'm writing down reference questions to use as a way to rate each book in terms of these categories. I haven't been reading as much as I would like, and sometimes I feel like there's not enough time to fit in reading, so I came up with the idea of focusing on 1 book per month, so my reading journal is a bit specific to that. Then I'm stamping rating system at the top of the page and drawing more laurels on each side. Next, I'm drawing out a table to translate the points to a star rating. I'll be giving each category a score out of 10 in half-point increments, so my range will be in those same increments as well, and the star rating is based on that. I'm also adding lines to separate each column and writing in the header before writing in the range and star rating for each row. After that, I'm adding gold lines to separate the title from the rest of the page and to separate the rows on the star rating chart, and then adding a book page and craft paper to the bottom of the page. Lastly, I'm finishing up this page by layering a picture of a column on top of the craft paper and coloring in the laurels at the top. Moving on to my bingo page, I'm starting by creating the bingo sheet using my fine liner to draw a 5x5 grid in the center, then stamping the word bingo on scrapbook paper and gluing that at the top. As I mentioned earlier, I'm doing something different with my reading journal where I'm only focusing on one book per month, but I also decided to do something fun this year where every book I'm reading has a movie adaptation, and I recently got into reading comics, so the prompts I'm writing on the grid are specific to that. Once that's done, I'm adding gold details to the top and layering craft paper, scrapbook paper, and a book page at the bottom of the right page. Then I'm coloring the black outline of this book design with my gold pen and leaving that to dry while I start drawing out the bookshelf. I'm sticking that in the bottom right of the page and coloring in the bookshelf with a darker brown. Next, I'm stamping out some book stamps on the bookshelf, and I had to use a lot of pressure with these stamps to make sure they were stamped completely. After that, I'm drawing out a vase and adding gold details to it before placing it to the side to dry. I'm drawing out more books and other items on the bookshelf to fill the space and fit with the ancient Rome theme. Then I'm sticking down the vase on the bookshelf before adding color to the plant and drawing some lines to make the bookshelf less flat. Once that's done, I'm coloring the books on the shelf with neutral colors and coloring in the background of the bookshelf with a lighter brown. Lastly, I'm coloring the scale with gold and using my fine liner to add details to the books I drew to match better with the stamped books. The next 2-page spreads that I'll be setting up are my Book of the Year and movie adaptation brackets. I'm starting off with my Book of the Year page by drawing the bracket lines, and as I'm only reading one book a month, it starts with 12, then narrows it down to 6, then 3, then eventually my favorite out of the 12. After that, I'm using my gold pen to draw the connecting lines on the bracket. I ended up getting another tape roller, so I was able to use that to stick craft paper to the left side of the page. And then I stamped a bracket vertically on the craft paper. After that, I'm stamping BOTY for Book of the Year and sticking that at the top. Next, I'm sticking down a piece of craft paper where I'll list the winner of the bracket, and I'm also sticking down another Roman sculpture picture in the bottom left before cutting the right page to create a Dutch door and adding gold details on the craft paper on the left side. After rounding the corners on the Dutch door, I'm drawing out the movie adaptation bracket the same exact way as my Book of the Year bracket with my fine liner and gold pen. Then I'm stamping movie adaptation on scrapbook paper and ripping the extra space around the edges. Next, I'm placing ripped book pages along the right side of the page before sticking down a piece of craft paper to complete the bracket, and also sticking down the scrapbook paper for the title. I decided to rip more paper from around the word movie and cut the leftover book pages. I also ended up moving the Book of the Year title to the right page instead. The last page to set up for my reading journal is my comic book tracker page. I'm placing the scrapbook paper in the top left and right corners and placing craft paper in the bottom left and right corners. Now I'm just creating small boxes, some of which overlap the scrapbook paper and craft paper. I decided to do a comic book tracker this year because I'm reading the main Earth 616 Complete Marvel reading order, and the reading list is very long, so I'll be interested to see how many I read by the end of the year. After that, I'm stamping comic book tracker across two pieces of craft paper and sticking them at the top. Next, I'm using my gold pen to color in the outline of this broken column design. And while the gold ink is drying, I'm sticking this Roman sculpture in the top left corner. I'm using my fine liner to number each box to count the number of comics I read by the end of the year. And after that, I'm sticking down the column in the bottom right and adding a gold floral sticker to the top left. Then to finish off this page, I'm just cutting the edge of the paper that's sticking out. Here is the final flip through. I hope you enjoyed. Everything that I was able to find links for that I've used in this video will also be linked in the description down below. Be sure to subscribe for more weekly bullet journal videos and like and comment as well. Thanks so much for watching.